participants, welcome back to the second day, third session on FDP. So in this session, we have Professor Ayash Shatru Arora, who is professor in the Department of Electrical and Instrumentation Engineering and also the Dean Academics in the Institute. So he has done his PhD, MTech and BTech from IIT Roorkee earlier, which was University of Roorkee, and his area of interest is on biomedical engineering. He has supervised several PhD and MTech dissertations and published many book chapters. So he's a good researcher as well as a person. He's very kind and cooperative person. So I would invite Dr. Ajashatru Arora for his talk on AI in EMG and prosthetic hand research. Professor Arora, please.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ashwini, and good afternoon, everybody who has joined. It is not one-to-one connection when we are talking online. I cannot see the faces of the people I am talking to, but all the way. Anyway, we will discuss today what is the role of AI, artificial intelligence, in hand prosthetic design of a hand prosthesis. So my topic of my talk is the application of artificial intelligence in EMG operated prosthetic hand. I had an elaborated video prior to my presentation. Hope it gives some idea what I am talking about. The same picture I have pasted on my first slide, and along with that, what is the underlying fact is what makes it working is the EMG signal which has been placed above this hand. So I will be talking about what is the EMG signals and how these signals are being generated and how it can be utilized, and what will be the role of artificial intelligence to make such a device. So already we have seen this video. So we are talking about the development of hand. So first few slides will be, first slide is what is the hand, how complex device it is. So this slide shows what is there in the hand. So hand is a very complex terminal device which can perform simple tasks like lifting anything, dropping anything, holding a paper, holding a pen, holding a sword, or complex functions like bowling spin balls like that. You can move your fingers all over. You can swing the ball. So these are a very complex function to be incorporated in any of the device. These hand has 44 separate muscle tendons, 27 major bones, and 18 joint articulations, and which result in 27 or more degree of freedom. So it has means amazing. I think I have been telling the people around that one of the reasons that human race is supposed to be the better than other animals is because of the type of hand we have got. The brain, probably the chimpanzees and the monkeys, they have the same structure of the brain as we have, but the spine, which is in monkeys you will find normally the horizontal to the surface of earth, and only the human beings are having a vertical spine, and they are having the structure of the hand like we are having. So these makes the humans more prone to development the way we have developed, and the world has been developed through the human beings. That is my thought, individual thought. It is not written in anywhere in the books, but you can judge it by yourself that the hands have played a very important role in the development of the human beings. Whatever arts, pictures, and what is creativity you see all around is one reason, is major reason is the type of hand structure we have got. So if this particular hand is amputated, or because of some accident, mishappening, or some disease, the functioning of human being is affected severely. But still, we find that those people who are losing their hands, they are still not replacing it with an artificial device or a prosthetic. There has been reasons for that. One is the availability of the device, whether the device which is available that is comfortable enough and it replaces the function from the lost hand or not. And then other part is the cost of it. So you have seen a present video whereby they are telling that $120 million is the development cost of a particular hand is. Probably that is not the price, or that device cannot be priced at a level at which the people who generally lose their hand, they are from the lower economic strata of the society, because they work manually on the machines, they work as a labor, so there is a higher possibility of them losing a hand in accidentally. So they generally not able to afford a artificial limb over there to restore their functionality, and their life is functionality of their different things is severely affected on that. So there is a need to develop a device which is affordable, but then it should be able to replace the lost part. These are the requirements probably. So we are still working. People are working from hundreds of year in the development of human hand, artificial hand. But still, that milestone which says that it should be used by the larger population, those who are losing their hand, is still not there. So we are looking at that particular stage where this particular device is available to everybody who loses one, and it is on functionality part is covered, and other part is the economic part is covered. So I will be talking on that human hand, how technically we can develop one. So historically, the hand processes restorations have been of uh, four types normally. Cosmetic restoration, earlier restoration was cosmetic restorations normally refer to a term where it replaces the lost part in looks, but functionality is not restored. So just from the looks point, yes, you can say that device is there, the hand is there, but it is not the functional one. So it was the earlier replacement whereby the, as far as looking is there, appearance is there, aesthetic look is there, they improve their aesthetic looks, but yes, they don't provide any functionality. So secondly, there were body powered devices. Body powered is, as the human being is progressing, earlier the things were manual, then they turned the mechanical. So body powered devices were generally a mechanical clutch type of system whereby the hand was having a clutch type of opening and closing that was operated by a harness, through a harness which is being operated through the power of the shoulder. So by manipulating the shoulder movement, the person could open or close the hand. That was the earlier body powered restorations. Then as we move on from the mechanical systems to electrical systems, as the engineering progressed, so electrically powered hand were there, whereby the physical movement of the remnant muscle was utilized to operate a switch through for opening or closing the hand. So that was the electrical powered restoration. But all these restoration was not near a natural device. They were far from natural device, restoring some of the functionality. But again, the training part and the ease of operation was not there. So the popularity of these type of devices was not much. Obviously, few people used that, but say 70% people generally avoided using any sort of hand processes. So that remained the challenge for the engineers and the scientists to develop a device which is affordable and which can replace the natural functions. So not recently, we can say that last 40-50 years, people are trying now on a technique which is called EMG operated devices. These devices are much more closer to the way the natural device will work or the natural hand will work, and the functionality can be improved. More and more functions can be incorporated into the device. You have seen one. So that is EMG operated, whereby the remnant musculature can be used to get the EMG. EMG is electromyogram, which is a biosignal raised from the muscles. So that is the actually the EMG is called as the electrical activity of the muscle. Record of the electrical activity of the muscle is referred to as EMG. We will come to that explanation of EMG also, how it is generated and how it can be utilized. But for the point of view is how many type of different restoration has been proposed until date. These are the 4 type of restoration which has been presented to the people. So EMG is now getting, as the technology is becoming economical. Yes, it is gaining some acceptance in the people. So these are the, sorry, you can see 1 or 2 devices. This is the one device which suggests that this is the mechanical device. Mechanical devices there, other can be the electrically operated device, whereby you have a battery and switch inside and then just you can put it on. So I think this one is also a EMG based device, where now the challenge will be whether the hand and arm. There is a hand restoration and there is a arm restoration. The video I have shown is the restoration of arm, and it is more difficult than the restoring a hand only, because you have to then restore uh, uh, the elbow movements also, along with the wrist and hand functions. So so this EMG is one of the biosignals. One slide I have incorporated for those who are not well versed with the biosignals, or even well versed. I will like to repeat that biosignals are the space-time records, electrical records generally. So which can be a cursor to the activity of that particular body part. So there are biosignal which keep information about the activity of certain part of the body. So when we name few, you will be able to, and these signals can be used to analyze and for the diagnosis purpose, and different applications are there, because underlying is that biosignals give reflection about the functioning of the area from which they are recorded. So this is the uh, generally biosignals. So biosignals are our primary source of information on biosystem behavior. Interpretation and transformation of signals are the major topics which we talk in biomedical engineering as such. And the thing is, generally the biosignals can be measured easily. Not all, but yes, a few are available on the surface, and we are able to get them from the surface. Generally, the biosignals are in you get in because generally biosignals are coming from the ionic movement in the human body. So you just need to convert those signals into electronic current through a uh, say electrode. But more general is if it is not a electronic behavior, it is in form of say acoustic signals or something else. You have to have a different type of sensors. So they called biotransducers, and you have biosignals. If the signal is bioelectric signal, then the device which will be converting it to the electrical signal, or which will be helping you to record it, that will be termed as the electrodes. So resultant signal normally you get in analog signal, and then you can record it and you can process it. Why we are talking it, that we have to talk about the EMG, but there are many biosignals in our body which are common. ECG is most commonly known biosignal or bioelectric signal. This ECG is termed as the electrocardiogram. Cardiac is the term, biology term, which is used for the heart. So electrical activity of heart is recorded through this ECG signal. Then you have EEG, electroencephalograms. Then you have EMG, surface EMG, and other needle EMG. Bioacoustic signals, the sound of lungs, movement of the lungs, heart, which basically sounds which the parts, body parts which are moving, they make certain sounds which can be recorded. And there are few more electrical signals like electroretinogram, electrooculogram, electrogastrogram, and so on and so forth. So these are the biosignals, but our major aim is to target a signal which is electromyogram, and electromyo is the term in medical terms which we are using for the muscles. So this is the signal which records, actually this is the record of the electrical activity of the muscles. Generally, we talk about these muscles as the motor muscles. So I will talk what are the different type of muscle later. So EMG measures muscle response or electrical activity in response to the nerve stimulation of the muscle. Actually, the system is the body system which works like hand terminal devices is the skeletal muscles. Skeletal muscles are normally the muscles which are under the voluntary control, and they function as per the commands generated by the brain. So that is called the nerve stimulation. The brain will generate the command that will be transported through a nerve stimulation, and that will reach to the muscle, and muscle will contact accordingly to the command which has been received from the brain, and the function is voluntary function is performed. So that is the way things work. Normally, this muscular system is not alone. It is called neuromuscular system because the skeletal muscles are controlled through the nervous system of the brain. So instrument used for record of EMG signal is termed as electromyograph, and the record of the signal is called electromyogram. This is typically different in biomedical, that the machines are called graph, and the records are called gram. So graphs are normally the machines, and the grams are the normally the record of the signal. So that is electromyography, and similar is the electrocardiography and all this. So the electromyography in itself is a discipline which deals with detection, analysis, and use of electromyographical signal that emanates from different contracting muscle. तो बहुत बड़ा this is a big topic on electromyograms. Electromyography in itself is a big field, and you will find a dedicated journal called on electromyography and kinesiology. You will find even journal is there. So in itself, electromyography is a big field. But we will not be going. There are numerous applications of the EMG, but we will limit our discussion in this particular lecture to the design of a prosthetic device, hand prosthesis. So this is a muscular system. There are 630 active muscles, and half of the body weight, that is the statistical. So there are three types of muscles. We will be specifically targeting the skeletal muscles, because these hand which are made of, hand is made of the skeletal muscles which work on the command from the nervous system. So it is a part of neuromuscular system. Generally, there are three types of muscle in the body. One is the cardiac muscle, other is the skeletal muscle, and the smooth muscle. You find that the skeletal muscle is sometimes also called a striated muscle because of its appearance. You will find that in this diagram, a striated muscle is shown, which is termed as skeletal muscle. They are also called as motor muscle because they work as a motor muscles with the command coming from the brain. The smooth muscles are for the involuntary functions of the body. That means brain will not be directly controlling it. Internal functions of the body, requirement of internal system will operate these smooth muscles, like you have certain gland secreting juices and our body, they are through the smooth muscles. So smooth muscles work automatically as per the requirement of the body to make the homeostasis in internal body environment within the range. While the skeletal muscles you can control through your brain, and you can voluntary tension. The muscles which are termed as cardiac muscles are the specialized muscle which have the capability, which have certain characteristics of skeletal and smooth muscle both. So that is a mixed muscle. So that is why the cardiac muscle is defined as a separate muscle. So we will not go into detail, but these are the types. And skeletal, our target muscles from we get EM signals are the generation from the skeletal muscles, which will be we will be talking. There is a brief about how these muscles will generate a action, because we are talking bioelectric signal. We talked about biosignals, but EMG specifically is a bioelectric signal because the nature of the signal is electric in nature, and there is a flow of ions. Because of the flow of ions, there is a generation of potential difference, and that is recorded through the electrodes placed on a relevant muscle, and that is termed as electromyogram. But how it is done at the basic building block of any muscle is the cell. You from cell 2 we move on to the muscle fibers, then we move on to the motor units, and then motor units to there is a motor units incorporated, then it becomes a muscle. So we will see how the formation is, but there is a across a cell action potential is generated, and that is the nature of it. Is shown that when the cell is in the resting position, it is a polarized cell. Its potential is inside potential is negative with respect to the outside fluid. Cell is consisting of a means body, cell body, and inside there are certain fluid, and there is a fluid outside. So there are these fluids contain certain ions, and these movement of these ions is responsible for generation of action potential. And the action potential normally resting cell is -70. That means the inner part of the cell is negatively charged, and outside part is comparatively positive. So with respect to the outside, inside will be negative. So minus 70 millivolts, they say, is normally somewhere you will find it is -70 to -100. In some books, so you can find minus millivolts also. And so that is the range. And in this case, the cell is called polarized. And when stimulus is essentially you can have internal stimulus or you can have external stimulus. Internal stimulus means the signals coming from the brain or your nervous system. They are the internal stimulus. When they stimulate the cell, and the cell go under from polarization to depolarization, and that is the curve. It is shown that from -70 to up to here it shows plus 40 millivolts, but actually most of the books will say plus 20 millivolt will there, and then it comes back to the again cell will come back to the its polarized. Here it is depolarized when it is plus voltage, and then again it will come back to the polarization. It is called repolarization phase. So once it is excited, it will complete the cycle. So these cycles will generate the action potential around it, and if you have multiple cells, so multiple action potentials, and then you have different muscle fibers. So different muscle fibers have built different type of action potential generated, and you can combine together to make them EMG. We will see in next few slides. So this is the conduction processes. It is has been shown in these slides. So this is the way the muscle is made of. These are muscle fibers, and muscle fibers. Uh, there are then muscle fibers. They become part of the motor unit. Motor unit is one set of muscle fibers which is excited by the same motor neuron. Motor neuron means from same signal from the brain will be able to excite all these muscle fibers, and these muscle fibers combined together is called a motor unit. So one muscle will have several motor units, and the motor unit is not a exclusively built physically, but they are innervated. Motor units of different muscle fibers of different motor units will be innervated by each other. So there can be motor unit 1, there can be motor unit 2, motor unit 3, motor unit 4. So you can see that here it says MU1, MU2, MU3, MUN, and each motor unit have a characteristic action potential generated. So each motor unit have a typical type of motor unit action potential generated. So we can very well know which motor unit is contributing at when. So they will be contributing when they are stimulus is provided through the brain. So this is the structure which says how the command will come from the brain for a single motor unit, and different muscle fibers of a motor unit will be excited by a single motor nerve fiber or motor neuron. So that is how the muscles will generate the contraction. Once it is excited, then they will be contracting. So further part, if you combine together several motor units, so they will make muscles. So when you combine several motor unit, you add all the motor unit will be excited as per the requirement. Requirement means if the person want to generate more and more contraction level, the motor units recruitment of motor unit will go on increasing. That means at one point of time, not all the motor units are recruited, but as you go on increasing the contraction level of the muscle, the more and more motor units are recruited, and even their firing frequency stimulus again becomes at a higher frequency rate. So the activity of muscle electrical activity increases, and so is the contraction level of the muscle increases. But you can see in this curve whereby the motor units are being recruited, and the electrical activity go on increase. But at the end, when all muscle will be recruited and you will be having a maximum frequency of firing, so it will go into stagnation, means saturation level will achieve. That will be the that is normal maximum voluntary contraction level, MVC. We call it MVC, maximum voluntary contraction level. And ultimately, if you, although the motor units motor unit have shape to it, but there are several motor units and which are contributing to the surface signal, which are being recorded on the surface of the muscle. So when we record the signal at the surface, it just it does not seem to have a certain structure as motor unit seem to have, because it is amalgamation of many motor unit action potential depending upon how the electrode is placed, what is the different from different motor units, how it, because because of the electric field, how electrode sees the electric field and how it records. So it will be quite different than the actual motor unit potentials. From surface EMG, it is pretty difficult to separate out individual motor unit action potential. However, when we record the EMG from the muscles, we can we can separate out certain motor units action potential then. But generally, the surface EMG you cannot do that, and surface EMG signals look like quite like a noise, and but it is symmetrical around. Generally, you will find it is symmetrical around x-axis, and it has what is there. So okay, we will discuss later. Firstly, we will go what type of EMG types of EMG signals are. There are two types of EMG signals. One is surface EMG, which is recorded from the surface of the muscle. And then you have an intramuscular EMG recording. Normally it is a motor unit level recording whereby the needle is inserted inside the muscle. So surface EMG generally it is electrode placed on the surface of the muscle. So generally from engineering point of view, if you see that surface EMG is more convenient to record and use, otherwise intramuscular EMG, yes, it is utilized for disease diagnostic. Neuromuscular diseases are diagnosed based on the intramuscular EMG because it is able to give you individual motor unit action potentials, which is analyzed to see the yes. But if you have to use it for other purposes where the cross EMG signal or the is important, we can go for the surface EMG signal. Now it will always be a compromise whether go for a intramuscular EMG recording or surface EMG recording, because the information content will be much higher in the intramuscular EMG as compared to the surface EMG. But for the practicality of it, if I'm developing a prosthetic device, it will be impossible proposition from what I know, that a needle electrode has to be put in the muscle, and that will be very painful. If you are putting a needle into the muscles to record a signal, and that signal is to be continuously recorded over the lifetime period for a subject, that will be an impractical solution. So for these solutions, we don't go for intramuscular EMG recordings. We go for surface EMG recordings, which are easily available from the surface of the muscle. However, the finding out of information from these signals a little bit challenging, but yes, you can find it out. You have the techniques. So for the comfort of the user and practicality of the things, surface EMG is used for the prosthetic applications. So when we record a surface EMG, EMG is a signal, is the mixture of signals from different motor units of a muscle, motor units of the different muscles, which are in the vicinity of the electrode. All get recorded. The EMG signal is by nature, it is not stable. It keep on changing with the time as the activity will change. Also in the time horizon, it will always keep on changing. Generally, you will see it says that 10 millivolt peak can be recorded, but when I have practically done, never 10 millivolt get recorded. It is around 1.5 millivolt signal is there. Now, if you find out the frequency spectrum of EMG signal, this is a signal which has a wide frequency ranges. Here it is written 0 to 500 hertz, but actually the EMG signal which you will record, if you find out the FFT of that, you will find that up to 3 kilohertz signal is there. So from say DC range to 3 kilohertz signal is there, but usable energy range with 85% of the signal energy lies between up to 500 hertz. So that is the one of the ranges in which you can utilize up to 500 range, or still you go for more gross, whereby you don't want to be very fine. If a gross activity gives you a ample information, so one can go up to 300 or 400 hertz or 300 hertz also. Normally it is 300 hertz, but different literature will suggest you different ranges. But why this is from one of the manuals, but my personal experience is up to 300 hertz is good enough range to utilize for most of the applications. Otherwise, if you have a very high frequency signal, it makes your job challenging, because then you have to keep your sampling frequency pretty high. So 300 hertz signal normally sampled at 1 kilohertz will do the job. But if you are going for the higher means, if you are going for 3 kilohertz signal range, then you will be needing say 10K frequency, 10K sampling frequency, and that means for each second you will be recording 10K samples, which is very high for recording and then analyzing those signals. So normally you can keep a midway range up to 300 hertz, and even this particular graph will show up to 300 is a good enough range to analyze the signal. So EMG signals, we are talking about the surface. So surface EMG signal will be used. They will be using surface electrodes, while the intramuscular they will be using a needle electrodes, which are put into the muscular and muscle. Sorry. So surface EMG have a definite advantage of easy to record, and no medical intervention will be required. A person like me or any student, anybody in the lab can easily put electrode on the surface and record it. But disadvantage will be it will be giving you the recording from superficial muscles. Crosstalk will be there. Crosstalk means underneath these muscles are not isolated identity in the human body. They are innervated. They are overlapping one over other. So in that case, you are not recording the activity of one muscle, but whatever the motor units come into play during the activity, all gets recorded. And the disadvantage of this type EMG signals is there is no standard electrode placement. This we are talking in term with reference to the like ECG, EEG. They have a very specific electrode placement techniques. We say 12 electrode ECG, 3 electrode ECG, or similarly EEG recordings 10-20 electrode placement is there, but no such standard electrode placement is defined for EMG signal. Wherever you find that this is the muscle of interest, you can keep the electrodes with certain guidelines, and you can keep on recording. Signal processing, yes, it requires first stage will be amplification and filtering all the biomedical signals, because they are very low energy, low voltage, low current signals. The lot of noise get introduced while recording it, so you need to filter it. Filter in the sense your actual usable range of the signals. So whatever different other frequencies are there beyond that, you can just simply wipe them out from your signal. That will make your signal more cleaner for further application. But challenges come when the signal and the noise is in the same frequency range. How to remove those signals? Yes, they pose quite a challenging conditions to the researchers or the person who is working on it. The signal analysis, once you have recorded with the signal, you can analyze the signal in time domain through time domain parameters, frequency domain parameters, and time frequency domain transform basis parameters. Generally, thing which have been done for the prosthetic device, the signal have been analyzed on the basis of time domain signals, time domain analysis for what we call it prosthetic applications. The frequency domain analysis is more popular for the muscle fatigue analysis, whereby the uh, median frequency or the average frequency keep on shifting with the fatigue in the muscle. So their frequency domain analysis has been done. People have also, with the advent of wavelet transform and other transforms, people have done all with time frequency domain analysis also. But that is pretty limited in the field right now. Intramuscular gives you certain advantage because the recording will be of better quality. You will be able to synthesize it to the motor unit MUAPs level, and you can study those part also, which cannot be studied through surface EMG probably. But disadvantage is very sensitive and difficult to record, and without the intervention of a medical person, you cannot record it. It is a very painful also. I have seen people weeping when such a recording is taken. So then same signal processing is steps are taken in this case, also amplification and filtering, but analysis is different in the sense we firstly decompose the signal into in its constituent uh, MUAPs, and then analyze what are the motor units, they are active or not active, and if there are lesser number of muscle fibers or motor unit active in the muscle, that indicates some sort of problem in the muscle. So when we are studying about the disease diagnostic related to the neuromuscular diseases, we use these techniques. So these are the some UMG applications. You can see the gait analysis is being done on the person, how it is walking, how the steps are. Somewhere the ergonomic studies. If you are designing a gun, you can see how it reflects back to the how it is affecting the different muscles of the operator. You can certainly record it through the EMG signals. You can see the artificial limbs being designed around the EMG signal. So EMG applications are wide. There are ergonomic studies, there are rehabilitation related studies, there are disease diagnostics, there are say prosthetic design, and many more. Uh, so our uh, I have listed certain challenges. What can be the challenges in hand processes design? These are the common speed of operation means uh, because when you are designing a hand processes, it should be near natural functioning. Natural functioning means if I think of moving my hand, or I'm intending to do any functions, I'm able to do it in the split of a second. You never notice that you have thought it, and you have done it. In between there is no gap. Once you thought of doing it, any voluntary action, it is done within a split of second. You don't notice any gap between your thought and the action. So speed of the operation of the artificial device will be very challenging, because first you have to identify the intent of the person, what he is intending to do. वो क्या करना चाहते हैं, हाथ को किस तरीके से मूव करना चाहते हैं, वो आपको नोटिस करना पड़ेगा. उसके लिए आपको सिग्नल कुछ देर के लिए रिकॉर्ड करना पड़ेगा, उसको एनालाइज करना पड़ेगा. So when we do this thing, when we record EMG signal and we analyze that signal intent for operating a particular operation, then obviously there will be some time lapse between the thought of the person and actually device operating that particular function, or that particular function coming into the play. So speed of operation should be such that the subject should not be able to notice there is a much difference between his thought, his intent, and actual operation being performed. So that is one challenge to the researcher, that speed of the operation should be maintained. Strength of the different components means whatever material you are using to design an artificial hand, it should have a strength of combining together our bones and the muscles. So our bones and muscles are able to create lot of force. Probably you need to have such a material for designing that means it has a strength and it has the flexibility of the muscles also, and it has some say play also, whereby you have the cushioning effect also. So आपको जब उसके अंदर मटेरियल लगाएंगे या कंपोनेंट डिजाइन करेंगे, उसका जो सरफेस डिजाइन करेंगे, यू नीड टू इनकॉर्पोरेट द what you say characteristics of the bones, and you need to have characteristics of the muscles, and you need to have the characteristics of the skin. वो बहुत important हो जाएगा. Weight of the machine, weight of the device is again pretty important, in the sense if you study the literature, somewhere it has been suggested that weight of the device should not be more than the 70% of the lost part. That means if the lost part is weighing say 1 kg, so the device which artificial device is being designed, it should weigh somewhere around 700 grams only. So you will have a great constraint over there on the weight and the strength of the component. Means whatever material you are using, it should have the strength, but it should not be having that much high weight, because it has now you have to put a lot of electronics and you have to put a battery also. So it increases the weight of the device, but you have the challenge to keep the weight in check, so that the person who is using that particular device does not feel that anything external has been put on his body. So अगर उसको ये लगेगा कि बाहर से कोई चीज़ रख दी गई है, तो उसकी फंक्शनैलिटी इतनी अच्छी नहीं होगी और उसको वो हमेशा अनकंफर्टेबल फीलिंग महसूस होगी. So you need to have a grip force which can be generated. I talked about the bones and the muscles. Then the reliability of the device is again an issue. That each time function is intended, it should be able to perform that particular function. If it is not able to, then probably the subject will not be utilizing the. So it can lead to a heavy accident also. You are touching something sensitive, and if the operation is not reliable, you intend to close the hand, it opens it, or you want to open it, it closes, and then probably it can lead to a fatal accidents also. So you need to keep a very high reliability of the device. Then energy requirements, yes, because it is electronically operated, and you need to have when you see use a battery system, you need to see the energy requirement of the overall design. It should be minimized energy requirement, so that your battery operates for a longer durations and outage period are less. So that is the thing. Is also one of the portable devices. So appearance, yes, appearance should be near natural. Otherwise, it will aesthetically it will not look good. And then the comfort of the operation means how much comfort it can offer to subject. So you need to see that you are utilizing it. Even only having the hand processes, that is the open and close functions. But now with the advent of this EMG operated devices, there exists a possibility of incorporating large number of functions into the device? Theoretically, yes, it is possible, and that is a challenge, and that is the place whereby the artificial intelligence comes into the picture. We'll discuss that later, that how the number of function, increased number of functions can be incorporated with the use of artificial intelligence. So you need to have a intelligence in the system. We call it a artificial. चलिए उसको बाद में ले लें, पहले हम इसको complete कर लें इनको, फिर we'll talk about the artificial intelligence part. So number of functions, it should be closer to the natural. So उसमें बताया था आपको कि 27 degree of freedom होता है, तो उसको incorporate करने के लिए हर एक degree freedom के लिए probably you will need one motor, and if you put so many motors into the device will become very heavy, and it will be requiring a lot of energy to operate it. So you have to see, you have to make a compromise how many functions can be incorporated, but the operation should be near natural. Then the cost, you have seen the cost. I have talked about 2-3 times about it. If the technology is high end, then probably the cost is higher. But the thing is, actual user of this particular device, they don't largely, they will not come from a higher income group of the society, and they will mostly be belonging to a lower set of society, lower income group of the society. तो आपके लिए कॉस्ट होगा फॉरेन कंट्रीज में, तो क्योंकि वो कई कंपनियां ऐसी हैं जो इस EMG ऑपरेटेड डिवाइसेस बनाती हैं, वो इंश्योरेंस कंपनियों के साथ जुड़ी हुई हैं, तो इंश्योरेंस कंपनियां उनको डायरेक्टली जो है वो लिम्ब रिप्लेसमेंट प्रोवाइड कर देती हैं एक्सीडेंट के टाइम में। तो वहाँ तो विदेश में तो सिस्टम इस तरीके चलता है, लेकिन प्रॉब्ली इंडिया डज नॉट हैव डेवलप्ड सच ए सिस्टम वेयर बाय द इंश्योरेंस कंपनी डायरेक्टली रिप्लेस द लिम्ब ऑफ द पर्सन अंडर इंश्योरेंस। तो वहाँ तो मैं देख रहा था कुछ जगह, कुछ देशों में ऐसा है कि डायरेक्टली जो इस तरह के मैन्युफैक्चरर हैं उनका टाई अप ही इंश्योरेंस कंपनी के साथ में, या स्पॉन्सर्ड बाय दीज इंश्योरेंस कंपनी है, क्योंकि इस तरह के एक्सीडेंट होते हैं वहाँ पे तो उनको वो प्रोवाइड कर देते हैं। बट सच एन स्ट्रक्चर डज नॉट एग्जिस्ट इन इंडिया, सो वट एवर सोल्यूशन वी वांट टू प्रोवाइड, दैट शुड बी कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव। सो और लास्टली जो कहना ज़्यादा हो सकता है इसमें, और भी कुछ आपके मन में आए तो कुछ और भी चैलेंजेस हो सकते हैं, बट दीज आर द फ्यू, एंड ट्रेनिंग रिक्वायरमेंट इज द अदर। अगर आपका प्रोसेस जो है वो इट इज़ क्वाइट near to the natural one, so probably you will not be requiring too heavy training requirements. It will be easier if it is near to the natural. तो EMG के साथ एडवांटेज यही है कि ये काफ़ी नियर नेचुरल प्रोसेस है। मैं आगे जैसे जैसे बात करूँगा शायद आपके वो चीज़ आपको दिमाग में आएगी इसके अंदर। ये क्वेश्चंस हैं, अगर हम इसका आंसर जान गए तो हमें पता लग जाएगा कि EMG क्यों यूज़फुल है हैंड प्रोसेसिंग डिवाइस के लिए, वाई EMG ऑपरेटर्स प्रोसेसेस शुड बी देयर। सबसे पहला क्या है, इसका इन्वॉल्व नेचुरल प्रोसेस। नेचुरल प्रोसेस क्या है? प्रोसेस क्या है बेसिकली, हम क्या करते हैं इसमें कि हम रिमेनेंट मसल से EMG सिग्नल लेते हैं। EMG सिग्नल जो है, दैट EMG सिग्नल ये कहा जाता है, देयर इज अ फैंथम सेंसेशन व्हिच keeps this sensation remains even after loss of limb for a longer duration of time. longer duration का मतलब है 5-7 साल तक ये सेंसेशन रहता है कि जिस आदमी ने जिस सब्जेक्ट ने वो लूज किया है अपना लिम्ब, उसको ये लगता है कि मेरा लिम्ब है और ही कैन ऑपरेट, एंड व्हेन द फीलिंग इज देयर, तो वो सेंसेशन अगर रहता है तो इसका मतलब है ब्रेन वो अपनी एक्टिविटी करता रहता है जो हाथ को मूव करने के लिए चाहिए। वो अपने सिग्नल जो है, वो जो स्टिमुलस हमारा नर्वस सिस्टम से जनरेट होना चाहिए, that keeps on generating, तो वो लॉस नहीं होता है। आपका लिम्ब एक टर्मिनल डिवाइस है, जैसे कि इंस्ट्रूमेंटेशन में हम एक्चुएटर बोलते हैं, एक्चुएटर डिवाइस है, लेकिन उससे पहले जो प्रोसेस है वो सारा का सारा फंक्शनल है। तो एक्चुएटर से आने से पहले कंट्रोलर अपना सिग्नल भेज रहा है एक तरीके का, एक्चुएटर नहीं है वहाँ पे। तो जो ब्रेन है वो एक तरह का कंट्रोल, इट इन्वॉल्व्स नेचुरल प्रोसेसेस, दैट मींस व्हाट वी आर ट्राइंग टू डू इज द पर्सन हु हैज लॉस्ट द लिम्ब actually has the sensation for quite a longer period of time, and that means the brain is functional, your controller is functional, nervous system is functional, and it keep on sending the signal for operation of the hand. The thing is, the hand is not there, the actuator device is not there, their terminal device is not there. So once you provide that the terminal device, and which can these terminal device, now it has to be intelligent in the sense it should be able to interpret the signals being sent by the nervous system to the muscles. So we have two processes by which you can do it. Either you can interpret a signal from the nervous system, or you can interpret the signal from the muscle source itself. So remnant muscle source. It is easier, always easier, because brain is very complex. Where to keep the electrode and all those. So easy interpretation will be difficult, and the EMG signal interpretation becomes easier in this case. So remnant muscle you can utilize to pick up the signal and analyze that particular signal to operate the device. That means means while we are designing a hand processor, the major one is the designing a hand terminal device. That is one process, but to make it operational based on the intent of the person, you need to interpret the EMG signal from the remnant muscle to generate a command to the terminal device or artificial hand. Now it will involve a lot of intelligence to interpret this EMG signal to a corresponding intended signal, where this is the place where we need the artificial intelligence. So because the EMG operated device is functioning on that particular basis, so there's a possibility of higher number of movements can be incorporated. Theoretically, it can be very high, but again, it is limited by the practical consideration of providing the actual motor in each for each movement of the digit or the hand, or the, if you want to go at the digit level. So yes, people have done the experiment for that also. Digit movement has also been controlled sometime, but normal functioning, for restoration of normal functioning, probably the digit level function restoration does not have that high requirement. Only thing is gross movement of the hand, opening, closing, wrist extension, flexion, pronation, supination. These are supposed to be the 6 functions which are sufficient enough to give functionality of the hand back to the person. Why EMG signal can be utilized is in the third point. Difference in EMG signal with change in movement task. That is very important. Why it is important is because if you are intending to do one function, the recruitment order of the muscles, motor units will always remain same. So if you are intending a one particular function, that means the involvement of the muscles, motor units will remain same. So since the process of involvement of muscle fibers always remains same, the signal generated for that particular intending for that particular function will always be the same. And on the other hand, these will be the different for different movement tasks. Means EMG signal generated from for the same function should be same, and when it is generated for a different function, so it should be different from the other functions. So this particular possibility, and it happens so that when we intend one particular function, the operation of the muscles will be in one coordinated aspect. So EMG signal will be in that particular fashion only. So as you change the movement task or the intended function, the EMG signal will change. So for one particular intended task, it remains same, and for different tasks, it has certain changes. So we have to identify the EMG signal related to intended function. So that is the only challenge that remains, other than the design of that mechanical design of the machine or the terminal hand. This is the intelligence part. Intelligence part means you have to identify the EMG signal with the intended function. And once you are able to do it, you can operate that particular function easily. So now, because we are having pattern recognition techniques or AI techniques available, so multifunction devices are now possible. So once you are utilizing artificial intelligence tools, you will be uh, able to identify several different patterns of the EMG signals, which can be corroborated with the different movement tasks. So once that is done, so once you are able to identify a EMG signal for a given task, uh, EMG signal is generated and the intended function is operated. That is the function. So that makes it possible that you can have a multifunction device using EMG signals. So the other thing is current technology allow better design of portable devices. That is, I have written that as time is passing, the technology for portable devices, because now the electronic components are getting smaller in size, very smaller in size. They are getting energy efficient, as the portable devices are now. You see that mobile phones are there. They are the best portable devices. So once the portable devices are in operation, then you have a very good battery life, less weight of the battery, and power of the battery is increased, and the component which are used in these devices, electronic component which are used in these devices, are miniature in size. They are getting uh, smaller in size. So that is why I have written this point number 5. Current technology allow better design of portable devices. So as these technology is progressing, it is becoming easier and easier to have a uh, prosthetic hand, which is much closer to the requirement of the masses. And EMG or operator prosthetic hand is also one's choice, because the less training requirement. The point number 1, it involves a natural process and less training requirement. They are the same. They are the linked points. Once the process is natural, obviously the natural processes we have to do. Then we will be requiring less training. So now I will discuss. I have done this work during my PhD, although long time back, but still relevant. I can give you the idea how the things were done at that particular point of time, and how I have utilized one of the AI techniques into it, and what can be done in future. So next few slides, I have incorporated what I have done, what technique I have used. I will be dwelling on that. Probably you get some idea how it is. So, so I had developed at that particular time. DSP was not into the picture that much, but now DSP is there. Digital signal processor. Uh, they are more faster devices which can be utilized, but at that particular point of time I used the microcontroller. So one is the first thing was the acquisition of EMG signal, which I have designed amplifier system and all those 2 channels of EMG signals from the forehand. I used to take the signal. Then signal processing obviously means amplification of the signal, and then filtering of the signal, and then digital acquisition of the signal that we have done. And once digitally acquired through a microcontroller, then you can have a feature extraction. So feature extraction in my case was I have done on time-based features of the EMG signal I had taken. And then these features, once you identify, then you have to recognize the pattern. Pattern recognition means for what is the pattern recognition here means the uh, uh, you have to identify what is the intended function, and once you identify the intended function, then you have the once you know the intended function, then you have to actuate the desired hand function. For that, we have to design a hand that is mechanical part with motor operations. So this is some sort of diagram, block diagram. This is general type. You can talk about this instrumentation amplifier, EMG electrodes. You take your instrumentation amplifier. This is the acquisition of the signal, and up to this, it is the signal processing. Then you low pass, high pass. So you can have a band pass filter. So up to 300 hertz, you can pass the filter. You can amplify the signal. Actually, you have to amplify it in one or two, sorry, two different stages, because if you keep a very high gain at the initial stages itself, then your noises also get particularly amplified and difficult to remove from the system. So multi-stage amplification you will take, and once your signal is ready, you can analog to digital conversion you can take, and you can take it to your device, whatever. Here it is microcontroller, but you can have DSP, any device. And then within the microcontroller, you calculate the features of the signal. Then you have algorithm by which you identify the intended function, and then you operate the motor, which you send the signal to motor drive, which motor drive will operate a particular function of the hand. So this is the total design aspect of a uh, prosthetic device. So once you decide to do that, what you have to do is type of EMG that is not very difficult. Surface EMG you have to take. Selection of muscles, yes, remnant muscles you have to take. Selection of electrode, how many channels, selection of what type of electrode. These are bit difficult in case of EMG, because in EMG is not as a standardized bioelectric signal as others are. So you have to take challenge of selection of electrodes, and then next challenge will come how to place the electrodes in what configuration. Electrode circular owners, whether the electrode should be circular or it is a bar, or what type of electrode should be there. How many number of channels you will go for, what amplification you will go for, filtering, and then window length. That is a very important aspect. Window length. Window length ka matlab, meaning is for how much duration you will acquire the signal to take a decision. And I told you that main challenge in that case is speed of operation. If you take it too long a window, then your speed of operation will obviously go down, because you are taking a longer window in time domain, and you are taking a longer window. That means you are spending a lot of time on the acquiring the signal itself first, and then you will identify the uh, intended function based on the features calculated. Uh, so if you are taking a longer window, then the speed of operation will be obviously affected. But if you are taking a shorter window, that means you are in too much curtailment, and probably the uh, window will not keep the desired information which you wanted to extract from the signal. So that is also a challenge to find out how you decide upon the window length. So there is a compromise. You have to take several experimentation and describe. And then the hand is not utilized all the time. So you have to use energy saving techniques, that all the time uh, uh, normally the hand is in a sleeping motion, sleeping mode. But as soon as there is a onset of a movement, that means there is an intention of movement, it should start working. So you have to identify how the intended onset of the movement is to be recorded. That techniques, as good technique you can follow, the better will be the device. Then processing, I have talked about the processing, and then feature extraction, yeah, that I have talked about, not much in that. Now, uh, the thing is pattern recognition technique, which classifier. Here is the role of artificial intelligence. What artificial intelligence tool you want to incorporate and how you want to incorporate it. Uh, Depending upon if you are going for a larger number of functions, then you need to have a classifier pattern recognition technique applied over here. That means the artificial intelligence will come into the play for more function. Pattern recognition technique you have to apply. If you are going for only two functions, say on and off, yani ki, that means opening and closing of the hand. Generally, the threshold basis devices work, and they are available in the market, whereby they look to the gross activity. They are not need not to identify the pattern, but opening and closing is based on the EMG activity. So for opening, the EMG activity will be probably a bit high, and for closing the means closing the hand, it will be less, or vice versa. You can take lower activity, one function, higher activity, other function. So that can be judged from the natural intent. What is the more function? So you can do it on the threshold basis. If the EMG activity is lower than this particular function, and more than this particular function. But if you have to identify, you have to incorporate more number of functions, 4, 5, 6. Then you need a pattern recognition technique where your artificial intelligence come into the play. So how it is related to a artificial intelligence? Ability of the machine or algorithm to identify seen unseen patterns can be termed as artificial intelligence. That means the EMG patterns which are presented to this particular machine, it should have the ability to identify or categorize in a particular category, okay, what is the intended movement. So if machine is able to take that particular decision, that means it is intelligent enough. Based on the signal, it is able to decide what sort of movement is to be operated. So multifunction EMG operated hand should have capability of relating pattern of EMG activity to intended hand function. So what is the pattern of the EMG signal, and then what is the intended hand function. So that is to be taken. So a artificial intelligence technique will be able to map the two, one side the features of the signal, and other side what is the intended function. So you can have a neural network whereby you have an input layer for your features, and output can be your function, intended function. So you can identify those things with these things, because why AI is a big role here, because input output relation is not mathematical, whereby the input output relationship is not, you are not able to define it mathematically. Say this is the input, this is the output, well defined mathematical relationship is not there. There the artificial neural network tools like artificial neural networks, they are very useful. So in this case we don't know what, because the challenge with the EMG signal is one more challenge which I have not mentioned probably, uh, which is very important to know, is that these signals, value of these signals, or the keep on changing from person to person. Means one individual will have a different EMG signal, means the amplitude will be much higher. The other person, similar muscles, can have very low amplitude signals also. So these signals are very much person dependent, or then a device has to be customized to the person requirement. Normally devices are customized based on the uh, uh, MVC, that is maximum voluntary contraction level. If you, because each person will have a different maximum voluntary contraction level, so you have to take your base as a maximum voluntary contraction. Based on that, you will comparatively assign all the signals, so that you need not to design each device on the for individual. So MVC is taken as a basis on that. Otherwise, you have to customize the device for each individual separately. So EMG signal challenge is much more because of it is not consistent all along the all the persons. It is not similar. So this is I think yes. The other is no standard EMG signal, and EMG signals are known to have variations over the period of time. That is another big challenge, that EMG signals, once the aging effect comes into the muscle or any disease related things come, the functions, the signal generated by muscles will be quite different than the previous one. So they keep on changing, variation can come period of time. So when you design a device should be such that the changes which are incorporated, these changes which are being happening on the person's musculature be incorporated in the machine also. So you have to have a device which is adaptive in nature, so that the smaller changes, obviously no machine can incorporate very large changes in the signals, then it will be altogether a different story. But if there are certain changes are keep on happening in your EMG patterns, so machine should be able to adopt these changes, recognize these changes. That means the machine should be artificially intelligent to adopt the changes and to map your intended signal to the operation. So yeah, these are the different tools which I have listed. You can now have very different tools. But terminology in a pattern, this is basically a problem of pattern recognition. You have to identify a pattern. So uh, a set of there are certain terminology, means you have to identify feature of the signal. Signal means EMG signal, and you have to find out feature. So feature space means a number of signals which are in input. So you can have a dimension of it. You can have 3 features, you can 5 features, but feature के साथ what is the requirement is there are class category of which object belongs to is called a class. In this case, a movement will be a class, hand closing, hand opening, or wrist extension, flexion, pronation, supination. So these will be the classes. जो hand functions होंगे, that will be termed as class. So pattern is the collection of features of object under consideration. So input signal जो आएगा उसका जो pattern होगा, तो वो correct class information. We have to map input signal to a correct class. And that is the pattern recognition. So for that you can have a training. Training can be 2 types. Normally supervised or unsupervised, but in this case where you have the examples, you can create the examples of training whereby the input pattern and output pattern can be mapped, and you have certain examples prior to that also. So you can go for the supervised training where you do not have a knowledge of input and output. Then we go for an unsupervised training, but unsupervised training. But where you have examples of say input pattern and the output class, thereby the training will be the supervised training. So normally in such device development we can have a supervised training. So you should have a sufficient data to train the devices. That means each category of function movement should have the sufficient data. Otherwise, it will be over or under training of the device. Test data, you should already, if you have number of test data and validation data, but now these days it is not a problem with the people because test data and validation data is already divided by the algorithm which we not use in MATLAB. So people don't go into it. But for knowledge sake, you must have a sufficient data for validation. You are training data, but validation data will be different than the training data. Only then you will be able to check the efficacy of it. If your training data and test data is the same one, probably the efficacy of device you will not be able to check proper manner. Then cost of error is another term which normally people don't look to. Engineering solutions should look to the cost of error because reliability of any device should be 100%, but it is not. Once it is not the 100%, then that means there is some chances of error. If efficacy of device is not looking uh, errors in the decision making, and if there is a decision making error is there, so what will be the cost of error? Cost of error means false positive or false negative. We say this was not the function intended, but it has been done, or it was the intended, but we say no, it is not intended. So in what case our cost of error will be much more. Like I can have an example of COVID. You go for RT-PCR test, and if it is come false positive, what will be the cost? And if it comes false negative, then what will be the cost? False positive means you have been wrongly diagnosed as a positive patient. So you are going through all the processes. What can be the cost of it? But if you have falsely been declared a negative, the person is a positive one, but falsely declared as negative one. So what will be the cost? So in both the cases, there can be a difference. Like when we do the biopsy, we take any decision on the cancerous patient or a patient who is passing through a critical uh, illness. If we say the false positive and false negative, in this case, both the cases, we have a different cost to bear. In one case, I say positive, false positive. Yes, I know that galti se wrongly put in a positive category. But further investigations may come out that yes, it has been falsely termed as positive, but actually the patient is negative. But once patient is, we'll talk later. So if we do like this, that somebody has been false negative. The person was positive, but your system says negative. Can it cost dearly to him? Because he may not, if he may not go for further testing or further medication, and but this person is positive, so it can cost him much. So always we have to bear a different cost for a false positive and false negative. And when we analyze our result, we should take care how much false positive and how much false negative we are getting, and how much cost we are going to pay for it. If our decision is wrong, so how much cost it is going to give. That can be a comparison for different algorithm. Based on this, you can compare different algorithms also. So I have already talked about the supervised and unsupervised training. Training performance is based on how much data you have in the training, and you have how much you are using in the testing. So, and each pattern should be amply represented in your training performances. Means if you have a 4 class, So 4 classes should be equally represented in your training and testing data. Otherwise, your networks can go in a different direction. Data representation is another thing which has to be taken care. But I suppose I'm an old school student, so I used to do this normalization process. I suppose now if you go for MATLAB applications, they always normalize test data, they divide, so not much you do at your own. But you need to understand that when we are giving the input data to a classifier or the pattern inputs, we need to normalize the data. Otherwise, if the data values differ, say one data is coming in the range of 0.1 to 0.5, and other data varies from 5,000 to 10,000 or 50,000. So both will have a different bearing on your network. So what is the way out? We normally do it through a normalization process. So when you do it to the normalization process, that means each feature is represented between values between 0 and 1. So उसके अंदर so each have a equal influence that way. Otherwise, whatever influence, if they have a greater influence, obviously the network weight will take care of that. So little bit of my work, I did this on 4 functions. I had identified: hand grasp, hand release, wrist extension, wrist flexion. So these are the 4 functions. I taken these 4 functions for design of prosthetic hand during my work. When I surveyed, I took a survey, error of survey of the activities taken up by the people. So I listed what are the functions which can be done with what type of what are the different jobs for which you have to take care of different functions. So in normal day-to-day activities, if you can have capabilities of doing these 4 functions: hand grasp, release, extension, and flexion, probably 85% of the job can be performed easily. In the grasp is also there are 2 types of grasp normally. One is the power grasp. In the way it is being shown in this particular figure, it is a power grasp. If we have to hold something very powerfully, like hold on to a, say, baton, so we grasp it like a powerful grasp. Or if I have to hold a sword, so I will hold it like a power grip. But if I have to hold a pencil or toothbrush or a spoon, I hold it differently. That is called a precision grip. So there are certain precision jobs which are hold through a precision grip, in which your thumb and one finger is incorporated. But in case of power grasp, all the fingers and the um, thumb is incorporated for the function. So these are the different function which I incorporated in my device. So I had both the part done, development of a hardware, data acquisition hardware, and the terminal device, and a uh, means ANN based control technique, whereby I could identify these 4 functions. Uh, the question was, one is the how you have acquired the EMG equation. I have written in one slide how I did it. It is not only everybody will do like this, but this was my work at that particular time. You can see that I used a PCL card and 100 megahertz Pentium computer. Now we are talking about the gigahertz, and the things have gone much beyond my experimentation time. So these are the parameters. You can notice I talked about the 300 hertz limit. So I took 300 limits and I sampled it at 1K only. And This is the window size I taken at that particular point of time, 300 millisecond. That was the time, total time taken for the acquisition of hand. I took that it should be around 1 second, not more than 1 second. If there is a gap of more than 1 second, then the subject can identify that there is a gap between thinking and operating. So it should be, the operating time should be below 1 second. So if you have to keep it 1 second, you have to take a window which is a compromise between a longer and shorter run. So I took a 300 millisecond window at that particular time. These are the features I selected, time domain features after a lot of literature survey. And then because I have to put it on a microcontroller. At that particular point of time, microcontroller are new, no Indian book were available. So I had found out my own techniques to convert it to a digital number, and I put it into bins. Bins means I have taken 9 levels. So for 9 levels, I have designed a bit pattern for that also. How to code these input parameters that I have taken differently. So minimum as this and maximum values. So these codes I had taken. Then section of classifier, I took adaptive resonance theory, which is termed as ART1. It is a basically it was selected because of one reason, that it has a adaptive. I discussed initially that it should have an adaptation of patterns. Means if the EMG pattern is being changed a little bit, the network should be able to adopt. So I saw this particular neural network has this capability to adopt changes in the new. So I gone for it, and I suitably, exactly, I did not use as per the literature, but I modify few things as per means my own requirements. So the advantage use it could modify, or if I have only one, I could store even two patterns for the same intended function also. So that is why I use that adaptive resonance theory, and I was suitably able to modify it. So I changed the stored pattern modification rules. That was as per my means requirements were there. These are the certain patterns I have given, how I could identify patterns through a particular function for subject 1, subject 2, where what will be the. So input pattern is matched to the stored pattern, and what is the similarity index. So how much similarity you can take, you have to decide. So if you are having a say input patterns, 2 patterns, the stored pattern is matching more than 65%, I say that yes, this is the function you have to take. So you can see if similarity is only 0.33%, probably that function is not passed. So this was the second modification I did at my own. So you can see that how much success, reliability should be 100%, but in a different cases, if you put the vigilance parameter, that is the level you are looking between the patterns. So if we are routing only 75% similarity between the stored pattern and the pattern received, the success rate was around 96%. So if I kept the similarity of the patterns at 90%, say 0.90, that means the pattern, input pattern and the stored pattern should match 90%. So my success rate went much below the requirement. So I had certain experimentation and all those things. I don't know. It was old job, but just wanted to give you an idea. Uh, So yes, conclusion I have written as per my PhD work. My conclusion is that yes, if you are going to use a design a prosthetic hand device, you can for artificial hand your advantage, whereby the more and more function but how the artificial limb can be designed. So that is all. And my question to you is, what can be the future development in the prosthetic hand? If you are thinking something, you have listened to my presentation, you can write it.
Any questions, audience? Check the chat. Any questions? Am I audible? I think network issues there. You are. Hello. Any questions from participants?
Ma'am, you are audible.
Okay, okay. Any questions? I'm not able to see any chat yet. अभी तक क्वेश्चन आया नहीं है मेरे पास. Sir, okay, I've not received any question yet, but I would like to know, in this respect, in this field particularly, are there any specialized application or softwares there which can be now used directly? Because the system is changing very fast. Like special apps are there which are directly helping us to do the work in this field. Which can be
No, I don't think that
easily
as far as
interface with the
EMG is
hardware
concerned,
available.
EMG, because of the wide variations in the signal itself. So you will not find any software which is dedicated to this particular signal, uses of this particular application of this signal. Yeah, generalized softwares for bioelectric signals are there, but not to this effect that you can utilize it for the purpose of EMG analysis and utilizing it, at least in prosthetic devices.
Okay.
You have to do your own.
So
People have left in meeting.
Yeah, someone has asked your email ID. Want to, I think, ask you something further in this
Email
field.
ID, I can write in the
So
chat
I
box.
will share your email ID
I
in
can write
this.
in the chat box.
Yeah, you should write it. So
I can.
Vijitha M has asked for your mail ID. Okay, no more questions from participants. With this, we end our session. With this, we end our session. Thank you so much, sir, for covering right from the beginning. That is how the action potential is generated in this field, and then how we can further process the signal. What are the important components of the data acquisition system? What are the processing tools? So you have covered this particular topic from the very beginning, how the signal is generated up till how it can be helpful in the prosthetic hand development. So it's a long topic, but it is very important topic, because a person with disabilities, naturally they will be very benefited if we have work and development in this direction. Sir, there is one question now I see it in the chat box. He's asking that he has a query. Although you have raised the inter-subject challenges, could you explain more about the inter-subject challenges?
Inter-subject challenges means, I suppose, even means I have talked about the customization of the product for each individual. That EMG signal is not having a standard values for across the population. From person to person, there will be quite differences in EMG signal from one person to another person.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir, this was question by Isra.
So for device on EMG based, you have to, because you need to create. So base value I have talked about that if you have to compare to, you say base can be your MVC. MVC is the maximum voluntary contraction for each individual is different. So rest of the signal will be in proportion to that. So if you take it values divided by the MVC, probably that will the devices can be used across subject to subject. Not that much customization will be required from the one subject to the others. I hope that was the question, and I don't know what was intended. I suppose that was intended. If is there on है ये कुछ खान साहब हैं ये कुछ
हाँ जी, खान सर ने किया. So hopefully he will
बोलना
be.
चाहे तो बोल सकते हैं अगर आपने.
हाँ जी, खान सर, you can unmute. If you want to have further discussion. Yeah.
Hello.
You're audible.
Sir, one more thing. Sir, one more thing I want to ask. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, yes, you're audible.
Sir, one more thing I want to ask. That, I had worked on EG data. I had worked on EG dataset in my master's thesis. So in that work or the relevant literature which I have gone through, I found that for applying CNN or in deep learning techniques for making images, plotting images from the one-dimensional dataset, people used to merge the multi-channel dataset into single vector. So is there any literature or is there any techniques which is feasible for the multi-channel dataset analysis?
Yeah, multi-channel always you will require in case of EMG the application which I have discussed is it will be not be the single channel based. You have I talked about that you have to decide upon how many channels you can take. So multi-channel data, yes, you have to take multi-channel data, and because each channel will have different muscle under its influence.
Sir, actually, I want to ask how to handle multi-channel data set while applying deep learning techniques or machine learning techniques. So could you elaborate anything about that?
Yeah, I'm answering you that you need first thing is in EMG application like this you need to use multi-channel. First thing, it is not a single channel application. You will be using multi-channels, and multi-channels is just multiplying the number of parameters. Say if you are getting 3 parameters, so from one channel you have 8 channels, so 8 into 3, 24 inputs will be there. So there will be no specific technique to merging these, but you have a input
so
side.
Like in case of EG data analysis, for the purpose of seizure detection or seizure classification for onset data set, people used to do in pre-processing principal component analysis or independent component analysis. So is there feasible in this case?
It is feasible on signals, but high-end that if you are taking very high-end techniques to even calculation of features, then a lot of time will go. In this case, you have to identify the simplest method of identifying the features. Otherwise, if you are going for a very intensive computation technique, that will take a lot of time. So because of the time constraint on these type of because this is a totally real-time activity. You are taking the signal from the source, you are recording that particular signal, you are calculating the features, and then you are identifying the intended function. So if you are going for PCAs and all those techniques, it will take if you are putting it on the say some processor, it will take a lot of time to do that. Obviously, you can do whatever technique can be applied to other signals, it can be applied to this also. But in this particular application, I suppose that will not be possible. For this particular application only I am talking, not this particular signal. For this particular signal, yes, you can do.
Okay, so sir, if you
Okay,
found that
somebody has written paralysis affected.
Yes, sir. Last question is there. Yes, this question is there. Paralysis affected person, whether
this there is a question on Lata.
Yeah, this is by Lata. She can unmute.
This prosthetic hand will be useful for the person who is able to generate a EMG signal. If phantom sensation is not there, if they are not able to generate a EMG signal, then no, it cannot be utilized. Either of the two signals means if your paralysis certainly suggests that the neuronal control will not be there. If neuronal signal will not be there, there will be no EMG generated on the signal. So no, in case of that particular thing, no.
Any other question? So no more questions, I suppose.